Well, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm getting an early start today because I've been reading responses to yesterday's video about my uh, teacup centerpieces, and I'm so pleased with the comments. And I want you to know, even though I don't respond, I read all of them. I don't miss any of them, but sometimes I just don't have an answer except to tell you how pleased that I am with your comments. So, anyway, I got a little special for you today. I think it'll be special to you because it's special to me. We're going to go back in time. We're going back about 78 to 80 years ago. Now, not many of you watching me is going to be able to go back that far, and that's okay. But you'll get to learn a little bit about what childhood was like 80 years ago. I'm going to show you some cute little things. Christmases were rather spare back then. Times were very hard for everybody, and you didn't get a lot of gifts, but I had older sisters who usually had a job at the dime store or somewhere, and they would help with Santa Claus. Well, these things come from Santa Claus that I'm going to show you. Probably should have waited closer to Christmas, but I was looking at them and I thought, oh, I just gotta tell about my dolls. Now I don't remember getting dolls every year because I wasn't old enough to remember all of them, but I've got two dolls now that I got when I was about 7 and 9 years old. I'm going to show you the first one. Her dress is wrinkled because she's been sitting in a chair so long and unattended to that I didn't try to iron her dress before I showed her to you. Now, first of all, keep in mind her eyes are starting to recede back in her head a little bit because she's 80 years old. Isn't she sweet? This is a composition doll. Now, my sister and I both got dolls alike that Christmas. This was when I was 7. And hers was bigger than mine. I got the small one. See, they've got the painted on hair and the eyes that move. And this is not her original dress. The original dress was white eyelet with a lining of pale pink. And she had a little bonnet that matched it. Very pretty little girl. My sisters looked just like mine did. So that was the first Christmas I remember. And this is the doll. This little dress is actually a baby's dress. I don't remember whatever happened to the other dress, but I'm sure back in those days we weren't very careful about saving our dolls and things. But you can see she's got on her little panties underneath. These things have not been washed. Look, now I put the little socks on her feet. It's awfully hard to keep track of doll shoes. They get lost very easily. So I put these little socks on her. They look like little bobby socks. But underneath this dress is a little eyelet slip attached to the dress. You can see. Okay, pretty wrinkled, but you still get this idea. And you get to see how cute she is. Now, she's been sitting in a little rocking chair for a long, long time now. So I wanted you to see her first and see how sweet her face is. Now there's something, well, I'll tell you this later. I'm going to put her over to one side, right back here where you can see her. See her right in the corner. The next doll I'm going to show you is this little fella. Doesn't he have the sweetest face? He's also an F&B composition doll. He has yarn hair, and you can see through the years the hair's been kind of messed up, and I'm surprised he's still got hair, because I'm losing mine. He should have been losing his too. But see the little outfit he's got on? Well, before I tell you that, I have to tell you that he is a little mate to brother and sister doll. He's the brother doll. You see his little blue checkered shirt. These have never been washed. Little white collar, not very white now. The sleeves had little string ribbon ties. See his pretty little hands. And of course he has the stuffed body, and he's got socks on his feet. It's awfully hard to keep track of shoes, but here are his shoes. Cute little shoes. Let's see if I can show you. Well, here we go. See, that's what his little shoes look like. I've got them right here. You can see. I didn't put them on him. I just thought I wanted you to see what they look like. Now, he had a little sister. She was in pink. She had a little pink check blouse, and her little bib pinafore was solid pink. Well, one thing you need to know about composition dolls: you don't use water on them. You can't use water on them. The little girl had yellow hair. It's also made of yarn. One day my niece and her friend decided to wash the little girl's hair. And when I came in, what I saw was just horrifying. The peeling had come off of her face. She had no face anymore. I was so upset. There was nothing we could do. No way we could repair the little sister doll. But I still have my little brother doll. Now, the outfit you see, this is his original blouse, but I want you to look at his pants, and don't look at the condition of the pants. There's reason for that. These little pants were made out of wool flannel. I wanted to learn how to make doll clothes. I was about 10 years old then. So my mother, with her handy craft, she took meat wrapping paper and she drew a pattern for a pair of pants. And she showed me where to cut and where to sew the seam together, how to sew it together. See, up the front, got little pleats, and it's little bib pants. 2 buttons on the bib, came right out of her sewing machine drawer. That's what you used. Now, one of the reasons these haven't been taken off and washed is you can see the tears. Well, actually, that's probably where moths got into the wool. But this fabric came from a pair of wool flannel pants that had belonged to my brother that was killed in World War II. And so Mama decided the moths were getting to the wool, so she took them out of the trunk and she cut the pattern, and I made a new pair of pants for my little brother doll. You can see the discoloration in the pants. What I want to show you, the other reason these have never been taken off is because that's where I sewed the pants together when I put them on the doll. You can see what a 10-year-old's hand stitching looked like. And I knew in order to get these pants off of him, I had to cut the threads. And I didn't want to cut the threads. I wanted it to look just like it looked. This one's already coming loose a little. I wanted it to look just like it looked when I did the sewing in the back. So there's my craft work when I was 10 years old. I've improved since then, I guarantee you. But I was wondering where were the little blue pants that matched his blouse. When I took him out of the chair, I'm going to set him over here, right by the little girl doll. They've been sitting in a chair for a long time. There under the doll were his original pants, the light blue. You can see how they faded. Little pink button, one of them missing. Had the little bib, and these were his original pants. See the back has a little button in the back. And this is little brother's pants. So they stayed with him. So he got his shoes and his original pants. Now this book, Doll Values, I've had this a long time, but it mentioned the F&B composition dolls, and it tells you, gives you a little description of all the name brand dolls. And if there was ever anything I wanted to collect, it was dolls. But my budget never allowed for that kind of thing. I could not afford to, the Brew dolls, the French dolls. My older sister had one that had belonged to her husband's grandmother. Now we're talking close to 200 years ago, I think. It was gorgeous. It even had the little holes in the ears for her earrings. And, those dolls, they were definitely collector dolls. So this is one book that I had that I think I bought it because it did describe the brother and sister F&B doll. So you've seen the only two dolls that I have kept through the years, and they're precious to me. And he's got the smoothest little face ever was to be going on 80 years old. So, let's see what I was going to tell you next. There'd been a string of grandsons, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them. And then along came my daughter, Jan. She was the first little girl in line, so everybody was happy to see another little girl, finally. So my mother went to a neighbor's estate sale one day, and she came home with something for Jan. Jan was about 2 years old at that time, so that would have been about 63 years ago. Now I'm going to try to show you what she brought home. I'm going to pull this around, Hope. There you go. Can you see it? It's a Wicker child rocking chair. You can see the dust under it too. But I've kept this chair. For a while I left it at my mother's house because I was afraid if I brought it home, Jan would be playing with it so much that she might destroy some of the reeds and lattice in it, and I didn't want anything to happen to this little chair. My mother paid $1.50 for this chair. I made the little pillow to go in it, so that's where my dolls sit. And this sits in the bedroom, and I'll have my two little dolls. I'm going to turn this back around so you can see them. And of course you want to see me too. Now, I'm going to tell you another story about a doll. And I'm going to tell you this. When I put something away, nobody can find it. I have seen this doll head sitting here and sitting there and sitting in the cabinet on top of the cabinet. But today I wanted the doll head to show you, and I can't find it anywhere. I know you don't have those problems. You can't possibly have those problems. But I want to tell you about that doll head. When I was living in Tennessee, a grandmother, I decided for the first time in my life I was going to take a course in ceramics. I knew exactly where to go, and I was going to make a doll. So I picked out the head mold that I wanted, and this doll was going to be, I think about 15 inches tall. And with the help of the lady who owned the shop, I created what was considered a 1940s doll. I don't have it to show you because I made it for my granddaughter when she was graduating from high school, because she collected the Barbie dolls, all those fancy ones that never come out of the box. She and her sister had already started collecting the American Girl dolls. So I wanted to make her a personal doll of her own for her high school graduation. So I worked hard on it. I wanted it to have the 1940s appearance. I don't know why I chose that. I think it was because I was a little girl in the 1940s, and I wanted this doll to wear the same style clothes. I made her a black crepe print dress, the old-fashioned fabric. I made her a red coat to go over that with a little Peter Pan collar. And she had shoulder-length hair that was almost page boy. You know how the page boy hair. It was a dark blonde. She was a blonde, so she had dark blonde hair. And she really looked like a little girl, not a baby doll. But one day, my granddaughter says, "Granny Pat, when are you going to give me my doll?" I gave it to her for college graduation because that's how long it took me to make that doll. But she's a beauty. One of these days, I'll show you her picture. Now, while I was taking the ceramic course, this man from California came to teach a class on how to make your own mold. Oh, that's what I wanted, because I never liked to copy anybody else's work. I may use their ideas, but nothing I ever made was going to look like somebody else's. It had to be my creation. And that's why I wanted to learn to make a doll mold. Now, I wasn't creative and artistic as a lot of people are. I couldn't even draw a face, much less mold one. But this man from California came, and I went to the class 2 or 3 times, and I made the head mold. I wish I had it to show you, because it looked like a little boy's face, and I thought, oh, that would be so cute. Well, I did get the mold made, but I've never used it, never. And when I moved to Lexington, I had no workspace, no place to work, because stuff like that's messy. You got to have space. I didn't have anything like that, so the mold was put in a box and put away. But what I want to tell you about that is the man who was teaching the class was a very pleasant man, older man. And what I learned was he was actually the creator of the Barbie doll. He made the mold for Barbie. And when we asked him what he used as a model, he said he used his wife. His wife's face was used to model the first Barbie doll. So I've got my little certificate somewhere showing where I made an A in my molding class, you know. So I really wish I had the little boy. His head's about this big, and I was so anxious to make the full doll. I was not going to make the hands and the feet. No, there's no way I could do that. I was going to buy them from the lady that had a ceramic shop, but I was going to have my own doll mold. I've still got it. And maybe someday someone will take enough interest and they'll make the doll themselves. You never know what'll happen. So I wanted to tell that story to you, but I thought you would appreciate seeing what 80-year-old dolls look like. Especially, I don't know what caused the rust color. It shows up more on the iPad than it does when you look at them. But this is the little brother doll. He's so sweet. I tried to keep his hair in shape, but I must have cut it at one time when it got kind of stringy. But you can see in the back it was curly, and I just take it as it is because he's still my little brother doll. And she's still... The funny thing about this doll, my mother had my sister's doll just like it. And somewhere along the way, that doll lost its arm. And my mother tried to make a cloth arm for the doll, and she did. Of course, it didn't match the other arm, but it was an arm. And she stuffed it and sewed it to the doll. And she kept my sister's doll on her bed for a long time. I don't know whatever happened to that doll. But anyway, her eyes looked a little strange there. See, they go back in her head. I have to do that now. See, she looks a little better. There you go. See, well, my eyes aren't straight either. So, oh, yeah, we're ready for Halloween. I never gave her a name. I wonder why. I thought you always gave them names. So, that's my story today. I hope you liked it. I hope you like dolls. And I hope you, too, have managed to keep some of your toys from your childhood. We just didn't know to keep toys from childhood. But I have another story about the American Girl dolls, and I may tell that a little closer to Christmas because it'll pull Christmas into the story of the dolls. They were for my two granddaughters, and that's a good story too, if you like talk about dolls. So I'm gonna let you go today. I haven't had lunch yet. Don't know what I'm gonna have, but I know that with the refrigerator as full as mine is, I can come up with something. And please keep commenting. That's what keeps me going. That was the other point I wanted to make to you. Is when you get to be 86 years old, you start understanding your mother and your grandmother when they lived alone. And when you would go to visit and they would say, "Can't you stay a little longer? I wish you'd come more often," because she was living alone. Well, I'm living alone. And now I understand how my mother felt, because she lived to be 101. And she went in the nursing home at the age of 99. So you can imagine, she had a caretaker the last couple of years she was home, but my sister had lived across the street, and my sister died first. And my sister had been a wonderful caretaker for my mother. She cooked supper for her every night. No better cook, no better. And every night my mother had a good supper. And then my sister died of cancer, and that left my mother alone. And we had to hire caretakers, and caretakers are not that easy to find. So what I'm doing, I used to just do craft work. I had a craft shop at one time, sold craft, and of course I had to make samples of everything so people could see what it would look like when you put it together. As long as I can remember, I was working with crafts even when I was a little girl. But as I got older, and my husband flew the coop, he was looking for greener pastures. Might as well tell you, that's how it was. And that my children graduated from school, and they were off on their own, and that left me alone for a long, long time. But I stayed busy. I was never bored, never. I was always working on projects. At Christmas, I was decorating my house. If I wasn't doing my house, I was decorating a house for a tour of homes. I only decorated 2 or 3, but still, it was fun. I loved what I did. I made my granddaughter's first wardrobe for school. She looked like a house on the prairie when I took her the about 6 or 8 dresses that I had made. And I'm not kidding. Those little dresses looked like a little house on the prairie. But she loved them, and she wore them to school. And I made my own clothes. And Jan, when she was in high school, had a new outfit every week, because I bought remnants of fabrics, the buttons that were thrown in the discount box at the fabric store. I had piles of buttons to pick from and zippers, so I was always prepared to make something. I sewed, made my own curtains, dust ruffles, pillows, all sorts of things. So keeping busy was no problem for me, and I enjoyed what I did. That's why when I got this old, the kids didn't want those things anymore. They don't need those things anymore. So I quit sewing, and I quit crafting, and there wasn't much left to do except read. And I was never much to read, because when I start reading something, I get a new idea and I put the book down and I go start working on another craft project. That was my life. So after I won the contest, the decorating contest, it sort of opened up a new life for me. I got to travel some. But now I'm at the age where it isn't easy to travel because you have to do a lot of walking and you have to remember your health. So you're living alone, your children are busy, they're raising their own children, they're working. There's not much to do to keep you busy and happy. That is one of the reasons I am doing these videos. And my daughter and granddaughter are responsible for getting me started because my granddaughter says, "Granny Pat, you've got the kind of voice people like to listen to." Oh my goodness gracious, how can that be possible? She said, "Yes, people like to hear you talk, and you've got a lot of good stories to tell. So I'm going to set you up on YouTube, and we're going to get you started with your own channel, and you can tell your stories, and you can show some of the work you've done and whatever. Most of the things have been given away, but I still have a few things on hand that I can show you that I've made, and I will be showing you those things too. So this is what you call a show and tell video. And I was anxious to show you my two little dolls because they have been so precious to me all these years. Now, what you're watching is me with one of my projects. And this will probably be the last project I'll ever do because, well, time will tell. Time will tell. And I was told once by a lady whose mother was an elementary school teacher. She said, "My mother would love to have you come to school and tell your stories to the children." Well, that sounded good, but I wasn't confident enough to think I could do that, and I never gave in to that idea. But I'm telling my stories to you, and I enjoy telling the stories. I've got a lot of stories to tell, and they're all history. They're family history. They're things I've done, things other people. You get an idea of what went on in the past, how I lived as a child, what kind of family I came from. I came from a big family, and we were a happy family. We didn't have the finest and the best, but we were all pretty creative, and my mother could sew. She could do most anything she wanted to do because that's how she had been raised. So my daughter says, "Don't let your videos run past 30 minutes. It's 33 minutes and 37 seconds now, so I've got to get out of here or she's going to complain because I'm going too long and people are going to get bored." So I'm not going to let you get bored today. I've given you another show, and I'm waiting to hear what you've got to say. Now I'm going to go eat something, find something. I'm going to eat another piece of quiche, I think. So you have fun today, because I've had fun. Come on now. You know this has got to work this time. I can't believe this. What have I done wrong? But I'm going to have to do it this way.